Hey you guys, welcome to my channel, All Things Melisha, where I discuss a lot about what's going on in the political world, but also everyday life topics in general. If you are a subscriber, I just want to say thank you so much for your support. I really enjoy engaging with you guys. I love reading your comments and getting your thoughts on the topics that I discuss, so thank you so much. If you are new to my channel and any of my topics of discussion interest you, feel free to hit the like button for your girl, leave a comment, share, and subscribe. You guys, it has been one of those weeks. Was feeling a little under the weather at the beginning of the week, so I hadn't been posting, but I'm back in effect. And happy weekend, happy Sunday to everyone. I just wanted to come on here real quick and just discuss a little bit of politics, but also the topic of being grateful. Sometimes I have to remind myself of the importance of being grateful, because we go day to day and we really take a lot of things for granted. It can be easy to take things for granted, like your eyesight, like the ability to hear, like the ability to speak, the ability to dress yourself, the ability to engage with other people. Not everybody has that ability. Some people right now are in the hospital. Some people right now are riddled with pain. Some people are taking their last breath right now. Some people are coming into the world for the first time for right now. So it's just good to be grateful, no matter what state you're in. Be grateful, be thankful, because like they always say, used to say back in the days, it could always be worse. Okay, some people say it could always be better, but it can always be worse too. So when it comes down to politics, you guys, I'm sure if you're interested like I am, I watch the news every single day, and I really started to social media primarily because of politics and because of Donald Trump. I had been following him for some time since he initially announced that he was going to be running for president. But I had been following politics since 2010. And the person that got me interested in politics is considered to be a controversial figure, which was Louis Farrakhan. But prior to him, I wasn't really, checking for the news or anything like that. If something happened, I hear about it. But I didn't follow it like I started to follow it when I started listening to him. I started following daily. And I would listen to his messages, and then I would go back and look to see what was actually going on in the real world. And I would see how a lot of things that he was saying was actually happening. Like, he would give a lot of prophetic messages, and a lot of things that he prophesied started happening. So it drew me, in to the political world, and I started realizing how important politics is to our everyday lives. A lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not political. I'm not into all of that. I just live my life day by day." And hey, I understand, because we're busy paying bills. We're busy going to work every day. Sometimes it's just, nobody want to get caught up in all that. And it's a very touchy subject too. It's a lot of people that are very sensitive when it comes to this topic. I'm also on TikTok, you guys, and my following on TikTok is a lot larger than my following over on this side. But it's interesting because I get a lot of backlash, because I'm more so conservative, and I am a pro-Trumper. And being that I'm a Black American and I tend to speak on Trump's behalf, I get a lot of criticism, just like a lot of people in the media that tends to speak up for Trump or be pro-Trump, So it's just interesting how we are living in a day and time where people can't just respect another person's point of view or another person's choice, okay? That's the reason why we have a free will. God gave us a free will. God didn't even force us to choose him, even though he's the best choice out of all. And it's interesting how when we choose politically, especially when you're in a specific ethnic group, people tend to want to label you certain terms like Uncle Tom, which Uncle Tom was actually a good. People don't realize when they call you Uncle Tom that it's actually a good thing, because we had been told for years in the Black community that Uncle Tom was a sellout. he was a traitor to his race, and you know, et cetera, et cetera. But when you look at the story of Uncle Tom, aka Josiah Henson, he was actually the opposite of what we were taught about him. And that's what it seems like in our media. It's like the things that they tell us is pretty much the opposite that's true. And they like to label things conspiracy theories and misinformation and disinformation. But I have never seen so much misinformation and disinformation as I have over the past few years from our mainstream news. And that is the reason why a lot of people have switched over, because thankfully we now have social media, which is showing us what we haven't been able to see on our mainstream news. And I think that's the reason why they were going hard trying to censor people. And even over here on YouTube, they disabled the dislike button to keep people from gauging people's response to different topics. But I mean, either way it goes, the truth is always going to prevail, you know. I just, when it comes to Trump, I get a little bit annoyed trying to tell people things, because it seems like no matter what you say, if a person's mind is fixed on not liking a person because practically they've been told not to like this person, that's just what it is. And with Trump, like I've said several times before, he's been a political figure for decades, okay? He was in the media as an admired businessman. He was on TV shows, he was in movies, he was mentioned in rap songs. I mean, he was a beloved celebrity until he crossed over into the political arena. And I listened to a few of his interviews that he did back in the days on Oprah Winfrey and the Phil Donahue show, where he was pretty much talking political, and his stance has been consistent all the way up until this current day. Okay, so he's not a typical politician that just switches with the, you know, with the times. Like I've seen politicians like Hillary Clinton state that they were not for two gay people being married, but then as of today they switched their minds. And people can switch their minds and change their point of views over time, but for the most part these politicians only seem to speak what they think we want to hear. Okay, and then when they get in office they don't do anything. But one thing I noticed about Trump is he's a performer. He's just not a talker. He's about getting things done. And the man has energy, you guys. I'm sitting up here trying to figure out what is his meal plan. I mean, I know he's rich, so he don't have to worry about cooking his own food and preparing food and stuff, and that helps a lot. But I mean, to be almost 80 years old and to be moving like he moves and doing what he does, yeah, I need some of what he got. But yeah, I just wanted to just talk about being grateful like I was a little while ago, because you guys, we came so close to communism, and a lot of people don't understand that. You know, one of the main tricks of the enemy is to divide and conquer, and that's what I'm seeing right now with this mainstream news media. You have a president in office. When Biden was in office, he wasn't even an active president, so we don't even know to this day who was president. Okay, because it was clear that he was not fit for the office. And while he was in office, he didn't get all this slander from the media. He didn't get attacked nonstop, constantly, you know, and Biden has been known to be a racist. Okay, he signed bills into law that affected particular ethnic groups. And he's on record making a lot of statements that were negative towards certain ethnic groups. So, and the media never really just bothered to play that. You know, but when it comes to Trump, it seems like there's an agenda behind all this constant, nonstop, 24/7 negative press. And that's the reason why I decided to, you know, start speaking up on his behalf. I'm like, that's the least I can do is use my voice, because a lot of people need to know that we are being lied to when it comes down to this mainstream news media. I mean, these people, their agenda is not to give us the news. It's pure propaganda, and it's really wicked, you guys, the way these people have been bought and paid for. You know, with Trump, he's a nationalist, and for years we've been hearing about the New World Order and how they're trying to bring all of the countries under one world government. And you know, Trump is a threat to that. Okay, and if you knew, like, I've never lived in a communist country. I've heard people make mention that they have, you know, and they say that's the reason why they fled here to the United States, was to escape that, you know. And if you knew how close we came to communism with this Democrat Party, okay, while they're busy calling Trump a authoritarian and a dictator, they literally mandated a vaccine. I still can't get over that. Because when that happened, you guys, it really opened my eyes to see that we are literally slaves to this system. Because many people were forced to take the vaccine or lose their job. And a lot of people couldn't afford to lose their job, so they just took the vaccine. A new vaccine that hadn't even been tested and proved. And the companies were given zero liability, meaning that if anything were to happen to you or you die, which they say a lot of people were negatively affected more by the vaccine than they were by the actual disease of 2019. Okay, you couldn't even sue the companies because the companies had zero liability. Okay, and they were even paying people to get this particular thing. So, I mean, my thing when I say be grateful, it's because we live in a country, even though it's still under heavy attack, and a lot of it is spiritual, but we live in a country where we have freedoms. Right now, it's still, like I said, shaky, but we have freedoms to be able to speak our mind, to share our opinions, to get up and go when we want to go, to thrive, to be all that we can be, And in a communist country, you couldn't even speak out against your government, because in some countries you get put in prison and in jail for just purely speaking your opinion. If it's something negative or something that you don't like, you get put in jail for it if you speak out against your government. Okay, and then they were trying to come against Christianity, like if you practice a certain religion, that's under attack, more so in a communist society. Okay, so you got medical procedures being forced on you. You got freedom of speech under attack. You even have our Second Amendment rights they were trying to come for. And once those are given up, that's pretty much the end, because when you can't defend yourself, you pretty much open for attack. To pretty much be ran over for the most part. So I just would say, while we have our freedoms, we need to be more grateful, because we really do tend to take a lot of things for granted. We have all this access to entertainment, and it's so easy to get distracted by entertainment, but education is far more important, because the word says my people perish for lack of knowledge. I would just say, at this point in time that, our Bible teaches us to pray for those that are in authority, that we may live a quiet and peaceable life. And that's overall what we want. We want peace and quiet, okay? Because all this war, you guys, a lot of these wars are so senseless. And I said it before, I believe that a lot of these wars would be pretty much brought to a halt if the people that called for them had to be on the front line, or their children had to be put on the front line. It's easier to call for a fight when you're not the one that have to go and fight it. Okay? So we just need to be more thankful that while we still have our freedoms, God forbid they ever be taken from us. But, with Trump, I feel like he has a hell of a fight. God has preserved him for a reason, because these people are still, in my opinion, trying to have him removed, not just from office, but physically from earth. And that's what happens. The Bible says that the enemy comes to do three things: to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And when you look at it, it's clear as day. These people want to keep war going on. Okay, that war is killing and destruction. And then they steal too, because they be over there taking resources from other countries. And then we learn what they've been doing with our tax dollars. That's theft and money laundering too. Okay, so steal, kill, and destroy is all that the enemy knows. And that's his whole purpose, to steal, kill, and destroy. But God says, I come that you may have life, and that you may have it more abundantly. And life is not constantly worn. Life is not being taken advantage of and having to work until you're 80 years old just to pay off a house. Okay, that's not really living. And then when you pay the house off, you got taxes that you still got to pay on. If you don't pay the taxes, you still lose the house. So the system has been set up really to keep us in bondage. It's a Egyptian type system to keep us enslaved and in bondage, paying for life, making payments for life. Okay, so we need to be more grateful that there is someone that's fighting on our behalf. I just want to tell you guys, you know, to just keep our president lifted up in prayer. If you are for Trump, and even if you're not for Trump, just pray for him. That's all you can do. When somebody's not right, pray for him. If you don't feel like he's right or he is not on the right course, pray for him. That's all we can do at the end of the day. And God is the ultimate person that's in control. Okay? So, you guys, I hope you have a happy Sunday. Feel free to leave your opinions on or your thoughts on what I shared with you today. And you guys take care. I'll talk to you later.